Imagine, if you can, the very instant your final breath escapes, a wisp dissolving into the vast, indifferent air. The world fades, sound echoes distantly, and a profound silence descends, perhaps pierced by an overwhelming, blinding light or an embrace of absolute darkness. Then, through the veil of that ultimate transition, a face emerges. But it's not the familiar smile of a cherished loved one you've yearned for, nor the ethereal glow of an angel from your childhood dreams. This is something entirely different, a truth whispered by Christ himself, shared through the profound insight of Mel Gibson, the visionary who brought the raw heart of the Passion to our screens. This revelation, both intimate and unsettling, challenges every preconception you hold about the great beyond. It's a dangerous secret, a discovery poised to redefine your present, for what he revealed about that first encounter after death will, undeniably, open your eyes to a new dawn. I confess, the thought of that final moment, the one where breath becomes memory, has always haunted me. It's a fear, raw and visceral, that clings to the edges of my waking thoughts and whispers in the quiet of the night. What happens when the world, as I know it, dissolves? Will there be an overwhelming silence, a profound darkness, or a light so blinding it consumes everything? And in that transition, that ultimate, irreversible step into the unknown, who will be waiting? Will it be the familiar, comforting face of a loved one I've missed dearly, their smile a beacon after a long journey? Or perhaps the ethereal, glowing presence of an angel, just as I imagined in my childhood innocence? My heart aches with this uncertainty, a fragility I believe we all carry, deep within our shared human experience. This universal problem, this precipice of the unknown, casts a long, chilling shadow over every life. We all stand on the brink, don't we? Death is the only certainty, yet what lies beyond remains the greatest, most terrifying mystery of our existence. Does a vast, echoing abyss await us, filled with a silence so profound it deafens the soul? Will we be judged harshly for every misstep, every falter, every regret? Or will we find a peace so absolute it transcends all earthly understanding? This primal dread, this yearning for a map, a whispered guide through that final passage, influences every decision, every unspoken hope. It shapes our lives, doesn't it? This agonizing question of what comes next. It was this very question, this desperate plea for clarity, that led me down a path I never expected. The one that asks, with a trembling voice, who is the first face we see after death? Not an abstract concept, but a tangible presence. The world tells us many stories, paints many pictures, but what if there's a truth, a dangerous secret, whispered not by legend but by Christ himself? A revelation brought to light through the profound insight of a visionary like Mel Gibson, a man who has dared to confront the brutal heart of faith. This isn't just a theological debate. It's an intimate discovery, poised to redefine your present, to open your eyes to a new dawn, a new way of seeing everything. This universal problem, this precipice of the unknown, casts a long, chilling shadow over every life. We all stand on the brink, don't we? Death is the only certainty, yet what lies beyond remains the greatest, most terrifying mystery of our existence. Does a vast, echoing abyss await us, filled with a silence so profound it deafens the soul? Will we be judged harshly for every misstep, every falter, every regret that whispers in the quiet corners of our minds? Or will we find a peace so absolute it transcends all earthly understanding, a warmth that banishes the cold grip of fear? This primal dread, this yearning for a map, a whispered guide through that final passage, influences every decision, every unspoken hope, every fleeting moment of joy. It shapes our lives, doesn't it? This agonizing question of what comes next, a question that lingers like the scent of autumn leaves, signaling an inevitable change. We chase purpose with a desperate fervor, don't we? Driven by the ticking clock of our finite existence. Every sunrise brings a fresh slate, Yet every sunset reminds us of dwindling time, of words left unsaid, of dreams postponed. How many times have you felt the gnawing ache of a missed opportunity, a chance to connect, to forgive, to truly live? Slip through your fingers like fine sand. This relentless march of time, coupled with the profound uncertainty of what awaits, often leaves us feeling adrift, searching for an anchor in a tumultuous sea. The suffering isn't just the physical pain we endure, but the silent, internal agony of wondering if our lives truly mattered, if our efforts carved a lasting impression, or if we are merely fleeting echoes in an indifferent universe. Do you ever feel this weight, this silent question pressing upon your spirit? Think of the faces you've loved, the hands you've held, the laughter that once filled a room, now just a cherished memory. When we lose someone, a part of us yearns for a sign, a whisper from beyond the veil, confirming their peace, their continued existence. This shared human experience of grief, this profound sense of absence, binds us together in a silent understanding. We all seek comfort, a balm for the wounds inflicted by time and separation. What solace could be greater than knowing there's a compassionate presence waiting, a resolution to the grandest mystery? This isn't just about death, it's about life's meaning, about finding courage in vulnerability, and about the universal desire for connection and ultimate redemption. It's a yearning that resonates deep within us all, a quiet prayer for clarity in the face of the ultimate unknown. I remember standing beside my grandmother's bed, the air thick with the scent of old linens and fading life. Her breathing, once a steady rhythm, had become a fragile, reedy whisper in the hushed room, each exhalation a tiny, precious release. The last vestiges of light seemed to drain from her eyes, leaving behind a profound stillness that settled heavily upon my chest. In that sacred, agonizing moment, as her final breath gently escaped, a chilling question seized me with an almost physical grip. Who did she see first? Was it a beloved family member, their face etched with comfort and recognition? Or perhaps an ethereal angel, just as the stories promised? The silence that followed her last sigh was not empty, but deafening, filled with the echo of my own unanswered plea. It ignited within me a desperate, burning need for a definitive answer, a truth I knew only a profound voice, a singular vision, could ever truly illuminate. This raw, intimate grief became the catalyst, pushing me towards an understanding far beyond my earthly grasp. After my grandmother's passing, a quiet desperation propelled me into a frantic quest for answers, an almost obsessive dive into the myriad beliefs about the great beyond. I devoured ancient texts, scrolled through countless online forums, and pored over philosophical treatises, hoping to find a definitive map for that final journey. Each book I opened, each article one read, offered a different perspective, a fragmented piece of a puzzle I couldn't assemble. The conflicting narratives, from reincarnation cycles to ethereal heavens, only deepened my confusion, leaving me adrift in a sea of speculation. Did I find solace in the dusty pages or the glowing screens? No, only a growing sense of inadequacy, a stark realization that human wisdom, vast as it is, often falters at the precipice of the ultimate unknown. Doesn't this relentless pursuit of knowledge sometimes lead us further from peace rather than closer? The silence of my room at night, once a sanctuary, now echoed with the unresolved questions of mortality. I sought counsel from those around me, hoping their lived experiences or spiritual insights might illuminate the path. Conversations with grieving friends offered shared empathy, but little in the way of concrete answers, their words like soft echoes in a vast canyon. Priests and spiritual guides spoke of faith and divine mystery, offering comfort that felt more like a gentle palliative than a true cure for my existential ache. Rationalizations, too, became a common refuge, the idea that death was simply a natural cessation, a return to dust, or a transition to an unknowable state. While intellectually sound, these logical frameworks felt cold and sterile against the vibrant, terrifying questions that pulsed in my heart. They failed to quell the primal fear, the yearning for a personal reassurance, a warm hand guiding through the dark, Have you ever noticed how the most logical explanations often leave the deepest parts of your soul untouched, still hungry for something more profound? The frustration mounted with each unanswered prayer, each unsatisfying explanation. It wasn't just the absence of a clear answer, but the sheer exhaustion of the search itself. I felt like a traveler lost in a dense fog, clutching a dozen different contradictory maps, none of which truly led anywhere. The world offered theories, comfort, and even dismissals, but never the singular, unshakable truth my soul craved. This relentless, internal struggle painted every sunrise with a muted hue, every sunset with a heavier shadow. My heart yearned for an anchor, a voice of undeniable authority that could cut through the noise and deliver a revelation not born of human conjecture, but of divine insight. This wasn't merely about intellectual curiosity. It was about finding peace, about understanding the true nature of my own journey, and about finally glimpsing the face that would greet me beyond the veil. What deeper truth could possibly satisfy such a profound, universal longing? It was in the quiet hours of reflection, immersed in the raw, unrepentant faith Mel Gibson so powerfully brought to life on screen, that the first tendrils of an answer began to emerge from the swirling fog of my uncertainty. I often found myself drawn to his cinematic narratives, particularly the harrowing intensity of The Passion of the Christ, not merely as entertainment, but as a crucible where profound spiritual questions were forged. In those moments, I would close my eyes and he would appear not as a distant celebrity, but as a sage, a weathered prophet from the very stories he so masterfully told. I saw him, aged and wise, seated across from me in a dimly lit, ancient-looking study, the air heavy with the scent of aged leather and forgotten truths. His presence was not intimidating, but rather deeply grounding. His eyes, though carrying the weight of centuries of spiritual struggle, also held an infinite, compassionate understanding. It was a vision, a guided reflection born from my desperate yearning, where the boundaries of time and space seemed to dissolve, leaving only the profound potential for revelation. His gaze, deep and penetrating, felt like it saw not just Karim, but every question, every fear, every silent prayer I had ever uttered about that final, terrifying transition. There was no judgment in those eyes, only a profound, almost sorrowful empathy, as if he had personally wrestled with these very same demons of doubt, and emerged with hard-won wisdom. He leaned forward slightly, the flickering candlelight casting dancing shadows across his lined face, making the moment feel intensely intimate, as if we were the only two souls in existence. "I asked Jesus," he began, his voice a low, gravelly murmur, resonant with the gravitas of a man who had truly walked through fire for his convictions. It wasn't a casual inquiry, but a desperate plea for clarity, a question ripped from the very depths of his soul, much like my own. He spoke not as a philosopher theorizing, but as a witness, a messenger entrusted with a truth so profound it could redefine the very fabric of our understanding. "Who do we encounter first after death?" he repeated, his words hanging in the air, thick with anticipation, mirroring the very question that had tormented my nights and clouded my days. The simplicity of the question belied its earth-shattering implications, and I felt a tremor run through me, a primal recognition that I was on the precipice of something monumental. And in that imagined confession, a profound truth, born not from human conjecture but from the very heart of the Gospels, illuminated by a life lived in unwavering faith, began to unravel before me. It wasn't just his revelation. It felt like a direct transmission, a secret whispered across the ages, intended specifically for the anxious, searching heart. This wasn't comfort for the faint-hearted, but a dangerous secret, poised to redefine my present, to open my eyes to a new dawn, a new way of seeing everything, transforming the very act of living. Ele revelou que o encontro não é tribunal distante, mas reencontro íntimo, sagrado retorno ao lar. A primeira verdade, sussurrada dos próprios lábios de Cristo e filtrada pela profunda compreensão de Mel Gibson, é esta. Você encontra o próprio Jesus Cristo. Asterisk. Imagine aquele momento, não confronto aterrorizante com um juiz irado, mas o olhar gentil e conhecedor do bom pastor, aquele que o chamou pelo nome antes que o tempo começasse. Sua presença preenche o espaço, não com a luz ofuscante de um tribunal cósmico, mas com um calor que permeia cada fibra do seu ser, um aroma de terra antiga e greca divina. Não é um estranho, é o rosto mais familiar que você já desejou, um amor tão profundo que parece um eco de sua própria alma. Você consegue realmente apreender o conforto, a paz avassaladora daquele primeiro olhar de reconhecimento. É um abraço de certeza absoluta, uma promessa silenciosa. Então seus olhos, profundos como o universo e claros como nascentes de montanha, encontram os seus. Este não é um olhar casual, é asteriscares, olhar da verdade absoluta, penetrando além das camadas superficiais que você apresentou ao mundo, para além de todas as máscaras que você já usou. Eles mergulham no amago da sua alma, revelando cada escolha que você fez, cada ato de amor que você ofereceu, cada passo vacilante que você deu. No entanto, não há condenação naquele olhar, nenhum julgamento severo gravado nas profundezas do seu ser. Em vez disso, é uma iluminação, um desdobramento suave da verdade de quem você fundamentalmente é, despido de toda pretensão. Você sente o peso daquela honestidade, a profunda vulnerabilidade de ser visto tal completamente? É um momento projetado não para esmagar, mas para clarificar, para revelar a verdadeira paisagem do seu espírito sem medo de reprovação. O que se desdobra a seguir é verdadeiramente de tirar o fôlego, Motzi, livro da vida, é você, asterisk. Sua existência inteira não é lida de algum pergaminho antigo e empoeirado, mas é desenrolada diante de você, como uma tapecaria vibrante e intrincada que asterisk você mesmo teceu. Imagine ver cada fio, cada cor, cada nó, cada ponto deliberado e cada emaranhado acidental, tudo exposto com clareza surpreendente. Este não é um registro frio de feitos, mas um testemunho vivo e pulsante de sua jornada, visto intimamente, através da lente do seu amor ilimitado e incondicional. Você testemunhou a beleza de suas intenções, os padrões de seus relacionamentos, os ecos de seu impacto nos outros. Há um profundo senso de propriedade, uma percepção de que cada momento contribuiu para esta obra-prima única. Você consegue imaginar a profunda introspecção e a aceitação silenciosa que o envolve ao contemplar a totalidade do seu ser, amado e compreendido? E dentro dessa exibição vívida, uma graça profunda se torna inegavelmente clara, mostrando misericórdia preciso julgamento, asterisks. A compaixão de Cristo não está meramente presente, ela é o próprio filtro através do qual sua vida inteira é compreendida, não veredicto frio e distante. Seu amor age como uma luz quente e envolvente, iluminando sua história com ternura, suavizando as arestas de suas imperfeições. Isso leva diretamente a asterisk o encontro com o verdadeiro asterisk, onde você finalmente se vê exatamente como ele o vê. Sem mais véus, sem mais máscaras, sem mais auto-engano. É momento de vulnerabilidade suprema, sim, mas também de aceitação absoluta e inabalável. Você ousa imaginar-se despindo todas as inseguranças, todo o medo de inabacal e finalmente de pé, revelado absolutamente amado, na verdade pura e radiante do SEU autêntico? Não, é apenas encontro. É retorno ao lar da SUA identidade mais profunda. À medida que a tapecaria de SUA vida se desenrola, você ganha uma nova perspectiva, uma clareza penetrante sob aviso do desperdício e do ganho. Você percebe com preciso impressionante as oportunidades de amor que abracou corajosamente, os momentos de graça que aproveitou, a bondade que estendeu e que se propagou. Mas você também vê, com uma dor honesta e suave, as chances que deixou escapar, as palavras não ditas, as conexões que hesitou em formar. Não é um momento de arrependimento, mas de profunda compreensão, reconhecendo o impacto eterno de cada escolha. O AR pode parecer pesado com o peso do que poderia ter sido, mas simultaneamente leve com o poder duradouro do que foi asterisk. Você já se perguntou sobre as ondas invisíveis que suas ecos criam? Os ecos silenciosos de SUA presentes na vida dos outros? Aqui, você os vê todos pintados nas cores vividas da eternidade. Esta revelação íntima serve como asterisco e convite à transformação final de nu. É uma preparação crucial, chamado gentil, mas inevitável, em direção à SUA purificação derradeira ou a união imediata com uma glória inimaginável. Este não é fim, é passo profundo em direção à plenitude do SU ser, despojando-se dos últimos vestígios da imperfeição terrena. E neste espaço sagrado, você descobre ou resposta SUA oracal mais profunda. Aquele que vos buscou ao longo de SUA jornada torrou e Orissahá, aquele cujo nome Orissahá sussurrou em momentos de desespero e alegria, aquele que ouviu cada súplica silenciosa, cada anseio não expresso. Ele é o primeiro a abracá-lo na eternidade. Vos consegue conceber o alívio avassalador, a realização absoluta de finalmente ser abracado pela própria fonte de todo o conforto e amor que você sempre desejou. É retorno ao próprio coração da existência. Finalmente, à medida que o último fio da tapecaria da SUA vida é compreendido, chega revelação do propósito eterno. Naquele momento profundo, uma luz surge, iluminando-o, porque, por trás de cada dor que você suportou, cada alegria que celebrou, cada único suspiro que você deu durante SUA jornada terrena, os fragmentos aparentemente aleatórios de SUA existência coalescem em design magnífico e coerente, revelando como até mesmo suas lutas contribuíram para plano divino maior. Você compreende o significado profundo de SUA história única dentro da vasta narrativa da criação. A sensação é de compreensão máxima, uma paz que transcende toda a compreensão terrena, saber silencioso de que SUA vida realmente importou, profunda e eternamente. Esta promessa de clareza máxima, esta visão de SEU valor essencial, não agita profundo anseio em SUA alma, impelindo-o a viver cada momento restante, con propósito renovado y esperanza inabalable? I confess the very thought of that final reckoning, the moment my life's story would be laid bare, had always conjured images of a stern, unyielding judge, his gaze piercing through every imperfection, every unspoken regret. It was a silent dread, a heavy cloak I unknowingly wore, fearing the cold, clinical assessment of a life lived imperfectly. But Mel Gibson, through his profound connection to the heart of Christ, shattered that terrifying illusion with a truth so tender, so overwhelmingly intimate, that it reframed everything. The first face we meet, he revealed, is not a distant arbiter of justice, but the intimate, all-knowing lover who has walked every solitary step of your journey, a presence more familiar and comforting than any cherished memory. Can you imagine the profound relief, the sudden warmth that washes over you, when the anticipated gavel of judgment transforms into the gentle embrace of unconditional love? It is a homecoming, not a trial, an end to the agonizing uncertainty that plagued my very soul. The air, once heavy with apprehension, now whispers with a promise of absolute acceptance. This isn't a passive encounter, it's an unveiling, a sacred moment where the true tapestry of your soul is gently, lovingly revealed. Every choice, every fleeting act of kindness, every profound moment of love you offered, even every opportunity you timidly let slip through your grasp, all are laid bare, not as evidence for condemnation, but as threads in a magnificent, intricate design. What once felt like a curse, a weakness you desperately tried to hide, is now illuminated as a vital part of your unique story, a lesson learned, a capacity for grace refined. You see yourself through his eyes, stripped of the world's harsh judgments and your own self-criticism, finally understanding that even your perceived flaws contributed to the profound, evolving masterpiece of who you truly are and who you were always destined to become. The soft light of his presence bathes these revelations, transforming them into signs of growth, of persistent, undeniable purpose. And in that divine gaze, in the quiet unfolding of your entire being, a profound catharsis descends, dissolving the icy grip of existential fear. The initial problem, the agonizing question of who awaited beyond the veil, vanishes, replaced by an overwhelming sense of belonging, of being utterly seen and cherished. This isn't just about surviving death. It's about realizing that every breath you took, every tear you shed, every joy you embraced, was a preparation for this ultimate loving reunion. The dangerous secret I once feared has become the most liberating truth, opening my eyes not just to a new dawn in the afterlife, but to a new way of living now. You are invited, in that sacred space, to embrace the fullness of who you were created to be, understanding that your journey, with all its human fragility, was always guided, always loved, always leading you home. This profound truth, that Christ awaits us not as a judge but as an intimate, all-knowing lover, utterly transforms how we should live each day. It's an invitation to shed the weight of fear and embrace a life of intentionality and boundless love, knowing that every step, every choice, every act of kindness or moment of hesitation is woven into a tapestry He already cherishes, empowers us. So live with purpose, love fiercely, forgive freely, and extend grace relentlessly, not out of obligation, but out of a deep understanding of the mercy you yourself will receive. Each interaction, each quiet moment of reflection becomes a preparation for that ultimate loving reunion. Don't postpone joy or connection, for your entire existence is a sacred journey leading to the most profound homecoming imaginable. This revelation isn't just about the end. It's about finding the courage to truly live your heaven, here and now, knowing your true home and the face of pure love are patiently awaiting you. As the last echoes of this profound truth settle within your spirit, imagine the world around you subtly transformed. The sun's light now holds a deeper warmth. The whisper of the wind carries a more tender secret, and the very ground beneath your feet feels imbued with a quiet, sacred purpose. No longer do you walk in the shadow of the unknown, but in the radiant anticipation of a homecoming, where every breath you take, every act of love you extend, becomes a brushstroke on the masterpiece of your eternal story. Let this revelation, this dangerous secret, turned liberating truth, infuse your days with a renewed sense of wonder and an unshakable peace. May you find yourself living each moment not just for that final encounter, but journey there and be in the joyous, loving preparation for it, a beacon of hope in a world yearning for light. The journey continues, now illuminated by an eternal promise, guiding you ever closer to the face of pure, unwavering love. This journey into the heart of eternity, illuminated by Mel Gibson's profound insight and Christ's whispered truth, is not merely a story. It's an invitation to introspection, a mirror reflecting our deepest hopes and fears. As these revelations settle within your spirit, perhaps shifting your perception of life and the ultimate transition, you might find yourself pondering your own path with renewed clarity. Where are you in your journey right now, as you absorb these ancient yet ever-new truths? Perhaps you're reading this in the quiet solitude of your home, or amidst the bustling energy of your daily life. What time is it for you in this very moment of reflection, as the sun casts its light or the moon holds its silent vigil? This shared human experience, this yearning for understanding and connection, binds us all. What thoughts, what feelings, what quiet questions does this profound revelation stir within your soul? Share your reflections below. Let's continue to explore these universal mysteries together.